To kickstart our post-lunch session, we are honored to have Dr. Keshav Chandra Ray, Senior Vice President at NetWest Group. Dr. Ray is an esteemed leader in data science and agile IT delivery with a rich global experience spanning across the UK, USA, South Korea, and Singapore. He has contributed significantly to both research and practical applications in the financial sector, particularly through his expertise in data science, legacy modernization, and end-to-end project management. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Keshav Chandra Ray to the stage for his insights on chapter-wise summary and analysis of Bhagavad Gita.
Good afternoon, all. I am obliged to be here with you. Especially thanks to Vat sir, Birje sir, to give me an opportunity to have this session on Bhagavad Gita. After my PhD, I started uh, or tried to understand Gita. And please pardon me, what I have understood, one lifetime is not enough to understand it fully, end to end, because it is the mother of all science and father of all management. But still, I think, and that is the best subject and probably the most favorite subject that I found. So for last few years, I have been trying to understand it as far as I can, and I'm also making a humble effort to spread the knowledge of Gita as far as I can. So I would start. Bhagavad Gita is the science of yoga. So what is the setting of Gita? Setting of Gita is the battlefield where two armies are facing each other and their relatives. So it's a very difficult situation for Arjun, and Arjun is the main fighter of Pandavas. So he has to take the lead. But what is his work that he is given? He has to kill his relatives. So that is the most difficult work that one person can have in his life. So basically, Bhagavad Gita is applicable in our life also. How? All our life is full of challenges as well as opportunities. So we have to perform the role of Lord Arjun, but also we have to find out someone like Lord Krishna who would be helping us to sail through our life through the challenges and difficulties. That is what. And even though I was asked to prepare some PPT, so I have prepared the PPT, but I think this half an hour would not be enough to go through each one of the slides, but I would try to cover the main messages from it. So, and what Krishna did, he actually pushed Arjun to the depression or more depression. How? He wanted him to see who he would be fighting with. So he brought his chariot in the middle of the battleground, and he shown him that this is your grandfather, this is your brother, this is your relatives. And then Arjun lost all his willingness to fight, and he is just saying that I would not fight. So that is the situation. Then Krishna is advising him that, giving him some advice that if you do not fight, then the world would say bad things about you and all. So you get up from this depression, perform your duty and all. He is also saying that life and death are part of cosmic process, and self is indestructible and immortal. It is not slain when the body is slain. So all these things he is saying. But Arjun is not very motivated. So he is still not moving much. That is the effect of this teaching. ये थोड़ा स्लो है. Okay, so Krishna is coming back to the world and giving him some more advice that if you haven't done your work, then people would not be saying good things about you. So please perform your duty. And this is still not enough for Arjun to pick up his bows and arrows and start performing his duties. So now Krishna is going to the next level. So he has blessed us with the advice that he has given to Arjun by the four yogas: Karma Yog, Bhakti Yog, Raj Yog, and Jnana Yog. Karma Yog, what Swami Vivekananda has helped us to understand is to do or to perform your karma. But in Karma Yog, we have to simply do the word as karma meanings the work. So that is in simple terms. So we have to perform your duties. He is continuing with the explanation of basically you have to put all your energies to perform your duties selflessly, fearlessly, and all these things. And Lord Krishna is saying that in the path of Karma Yoga, no effort would be ever lost. And he would take care of all the difficulties that his disciples would be facing through performing his duties. And he would be attending him if he perform his duty very religiously. Also, he is saying that that we should not be too much concerned about the fruits of the action. So, without desiring the fruits of the action, we have to perform our duties. That is what I think he is saying. So, evenness of mind is called yoga. Actually, I should have removed the this thing, but somehow this thing is still coming. This animation. So first step of Karma Yoga is to fix thought on the realization of Supreme Self. Second step is to act but not with a selfish motive. Does this mean that we should abandon the work? Definitely not. So we have to perform our duties whether we pass or fail, ups and downs. So how it is possible? Action should be guided by intelligence, not by self-interest. So buddhi, yoga is said to be the skill in action. So what Bhagavad Gita has made Arjun out of that person is he would be becoming dexterous person. And what is dexterous means? A person who is skillfully very effective in performing difficult tasks. I think that is what all we want our youngsters to achieve. So, if we follow the teachings of Lord Krishna Bhagavad Gita, I think it would help us to move slightly in that direction. But at the same point of time, we must not be attached to the fruits of action. I think that is the key message from Bhagavad Gita, we all know. Now Arjuna is asking that what a sage does and what he doesn't do. So that means he is getting now interest. So that's what Krishna has understood, that now he is slowly coming back to the things that he is supposed to be doing. Okay. This is very important thing actually. So we all talk about anger management. And in the next slide, it will be shown that in medicine, in Western world, everyone is talking about anger, how to be doing anger management, lot of things, lot of experts. But actually, Lord Krishna has very nicely explained how the anger thing is arising and how we would be managing it. So, from objects there will be attachment. From attachment, you would be having desire. When that desire is not fulfilled, so you would be having anger. And when anger is there, you would be having confusion. From confusion, we would be having loss of memory. From loss of memory, the intelligence would be destructed. And once the intelligence is destructed, one individual perishes. So this is what is one of the key message from Bhagavad Gita. How we would be controlling our anger. And if we do not control the anger, then what would happen? This is what I was saying. So modern medicine, modern psychoanalysis, everywhere we are saying that anger management is one of the most important things that we should do in our life. And Lord Krishna has taught us very nicely. So while we all have difficulties in our life, so what do we do? It is very easy to give up. And maybe some of us would be only doing meditation. But this is what Krishna is saying, no. That is, he is saying that you have to perform duty. Not you would be running away from your problems. We should have a wider vision of our mind and what the cause for the welfare of all. So that is, we have to perform our duty selflessly. I think that is what he is saying again and again. He is again repeating the thing that we have to perform we have to actually, that is why we would be doing skill building. So we would be increasing our abilities and we would perform our duties to the single goal. So what is action? And he has also asked that how does a sage works, Arjun? So he is explaining, he who sees action in inaction and inaction in action, he is yogi. So that is the very nice thing that I liked about how Krishna has explained. So you have to actually spend some time to understand what does it mean. He who sees action in action and inaction in action, he is yogi. For one whose actions are free from selfish desire, every work culminates in wisdom. So such an individual holds his life as an offering, a sacrifice to a higher goal. So knowledge as a sacrifice is greater than any material sacrifice. That's what he is also saying. So fourfold of yoga. That is what he is explaining. So devotion, bhakti yoga, knowledge, jnana yoga, psychic control, raj yoga, and work, karma yoga. Cosmic form. It is in the 11th chapter. He is showing that whole world is Lord Krishna, and because Arjun was still not fully motivated, and he wanted to see his actual form. So before this, actually, Arjun was thinking that Krishna is just another individual like him. So he was not too much serious about what Krishna is saying. After seeing this cosmic form, he now understood that who he is speaking to. So he was very frightened. So that's why Krishna came back to his compassionate form and then again started the discussion. We talked about karma yoga. Now this yoga of devotion is also another important thing that was covered in Bhagavad Gita. Second main contribution. Threefold nature of things. This is another important aspect. So here we are speaking about how it is related to work. So the work which is done without attachment, without any selfish desire, and for the betterment of the society, so that is called sattva. The same thing for food, for charity, for anything. So it is, here we are talking about work, but that can be related to all these things. The work which is done to satisfy our own selfish purpose, I want to be a big person, I want my name to be published everywhere and all. So that would be Rajas, right? And then the work which is done through ignorance, without any purpose. Maybe it would have a purpose of negativity, spreading negativity or harming others. So that would be tamas. Same thing for food and as well as charity. So because even though I have not covered, but Krishna is suggesting us to do charity as well as perform work. Food also is there, basically. What is tamasic food, swatik food, and rajasic food. So this is one important thing. Everything he has classified into three categories. So he's saying, resigning all your works to me. So basically he's saying, whatever you would be doing it for me. Means for Lord Krishna. So with your consciousness fixed in the self, being free from desire and egoism, fight free from any mental fever. So this is my philosophy of life. And whoever follows this teaching will also be released from the bondage of work. So our mind has got four faculties. The four faculties, these are thinking, feeling, willing and restraining. Thinking, feeling, willing and restraining, these are related to four yogas. Jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, karma yoga and raj yoga. He is also saying that whatever he has told actually. So these are all secret of secrets. Resigning all your works to me, with your consciousness fixed the self, Jnana Yoga, then being free from desire and egoism, fight, Karma Yoga, and delivered from mental fever, so the Raj Yoga. So he has told that you have to perform all these four yogas, and this is what is a very secret message. I have given it to you. Now Arjuna is saying that I am now out of my delusion and depression, so I am ready to fight. Gita should be also read along with Upanishad, but how it goes is, first is our Veds, then summary of Veds are in Upanishad, then Upanishad plus some practical aspects, because Karma Yoga was not in Upanishad, is Gita. I have met few people, and there would be people who has done mastery in Veda and Upanishad, but maybe for us who has to do engineering and management and also to do some work, we have not got enough time to go through all this. I think for us, even if we can read some slokas of Bhagavad Gita, I think it should be more than means a person can do. So, okay, now can you please play that slok? So I would like us to listen to one slok, which is a very beautiful verse. It is slok number 8 and 9 from chapter 5.
करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
The man who perceives in whatever he is doing, whether hearing, touching, smelling, eating, walking, sleeping, breathing, giving up or seizing, and opening or closing his eyes, that only his senses are acting according to their properties, and that he himself is a non-doer, is indeed the one with true knowledge.
Do you want us to hear it again? एक बार और चला.
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
The man who perceives in whatever he is doing, whether hearing, touching, smelling, eating, walking, sleeping, breathing, giving up or seizing, and opening or closing his eyes, that only his senses are acting according to their properties, and that he himself is a non-doer, is indeed the one with true knowledge.
वो वापस 25 स्लाइड. Because I think Vivekananda was one of the person who has motivated me to perform my duties, and whatever I have explored, I think he has summarized the message of Bhagavad Gita through his complete works from Swami Vivekananda. So, truth, purity and unselfishness, wherever these are present, there is no power below or above the sun to crush the possessor thereof. Equipped with these, one individual is able to face the whole universe in opposition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ray, for your insightful talk. I now request Professor P.C. Deshmukh, Professor Deepak Tiwari, and Uday Birjeji to please present a token of appreciation to Dr. Keshav Chandra Ray. Thank you, sir. Now let's welcome our next speaker, Dr. Ambuj Tripathi, a distinguished scientist from the Inter-University Accelerator Center, IUAC. Dr. Tripathi has made significant contributions to cutting-edge research and advancements in the field of science, particularly in accelerator-based technologies. His work has had a profound impact on both academia and applied research. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Ambuj Tripathi for his insights and scientific principles in temple architectures of Bharat.
So, good afternoon, namaste. And first of all, I'd like to thank organizers. It's not just a formality. I really liked the hospitality and the effort. I had once come here long back means maybe 7-8 years back as a guardian once, and had the privilege of meeting Dr. Vats at that time. And we had since then I have come a couple of times as in other capacities also, and I have really liked the way this has grown, and it's very nice that it's being organized here. And yesterday our director, Professor Pandey, was also here, but since we saw a lot of students and it was not talked about our center, I just thought I had three slides. I will just talk about our center mostly for the students' benefit. I come from this place. This is the Inter-University Accelerator Center. This was the first inter-university centers established by University Grants Commission, Ministry of Education. This is a national facility for is mainly accelerator-based research, but there are mainly other things also which have been gradually been added. So this all of you, if you want to go, you can go to our website, see the details. This is our website, so iuac.ris.in. We have, as I mentioned, we have users from all over India, and we have been almost all the IITs, all the National Institute, ICER, NICERS, ISC. We have users coming from everywhere, and all this our areas, we have been working in all the different area: material science, nuclear science, material science, radiation biology, accelerator mass spectroscopy, atomic physics, cell physics. So all the areas which are doing, and a lot of facilities. Once you go on the website and you can see, this is one of the latest world class facilities you will find, like especially in nuclear physics we have three national facilities that are called National Gamma Array, this National Neutron Array, and in material science we have many associated thing. We have activities throughout the year, mostly for students, and you can go. Okay, this is so okay. Just 1 minute. So these are some of the groups you can see. So mostly I've been involved in two groups. And one other thing, just before going to the main topic here, we also have set up a national facility for this supercomputers. It's I think a couple of weeks back, some of you may have seen in the news, Honorable Prime Minister had inaugurated the facility, and so the largest one of the three facilities of that nation under the supercomputer, the largest one is set up at IUAC. That again is we are trying to operate it as a virtual IUAC. So that facility will also be open to all the users at the national level. So that also we have started working. Actually, we have a workshop, and this calendar which I was showing you, our academic calendar, you will see most of these activities whenever we start, we have throughout the year. We have these activities where students can come and participate. And for this supercomputing facility, we have a school going on at present. I had a lecture there in the morning on this, what we can do in material science. So you can always look in this activities and join. So coming to this topic, I should first just mention how I got interested. So again, it's a privilege to have, yesterday we heard about Dr. Shriram. He has been our center, Dr. We also had this something similar activity at IUAC in March, and we had including Dr. Deshmukh, and all this they were there. And I have been a student of Professor Shriram when he was long back in Allahabad University, almost 40 years. And recently we had some 10 years back a conference on material science, where we had invited him on an evening talk on this Indian knowledge system. And that is how my interest got after listening to his talk. That I will try to mention some of the points to say that how to we just overlook a lot of things where we have seen, we many people have mentioned, we are always fascinated by seeing this what the Western development science, but there are a lot of things we just overlook. So two examples I will try to bring it here, and one of them is about this temple. That is how I got interested, that we go to every day to a temple, but we never appreciate how these things come up. And this type of structures you see, you talk to any engineer nowadays, civil engineer, the buildings which are coming up, in most of them which you are staying in this multi-storied building, and what is its life? They will say generally 100 years, and maybe couple of 100 years. But these are the places which have been standing here thousands, more than 1,000 years. And this is the time you don't have like this structures. If you just look at the construction wise, you should try to imagine this is a time when steel was not there, or the way we try to do in the buildings, mortar is not used, steel is not used. There have been in the places like if you go to, this is on the coastal area where this air may have a lot of this salty water, air has this thing, and you have earthquakes have come and gone, and these things are still standing there. One other example, just a couple of weeks back, you must have seen Shashi Tharoor also sort of had tweeted it in this Swami Padmanabhan temple. Every year on the equinox, people go and watch it. And Dr. Deshmukh had also shared this video, very nice video. So I will show you that photograph. You have to just, when you see that, you have to imagine what level of knowledge those people had when it was made and what are the principles. So some of the things only I will try to bring it here. As I said, this all cannot be covered in 15-30 minute slide, and I have already taken 4 minutes in introduction. So I will next 20 minutes or so, I will just show you a glimpse and pick up from the places what seems interesting. So whenever you see, try to enjoy and have a pride in what are the science and what are the effort has gone into those things which we seem to overlook. So these are the things sometime I want to, I will try to cover. As I said, this is a tradition going for 1500 years. This last photograph I showed, from there to the currently this Sri Ram Janmabhoomi temple in this is the same design and more or less the same principle which are used. This also is made in the similar way, what is called this Nagar style of this temple construction. So some of this, so it is a continuing structure. It has a very advanced engineering. It has a knowledge about, you have to have geometry, you have to know sculpture. There is a lot of things I will show you. There is a lot of environmental sensitivity included. The things we talk about sustainable development, it is there 1000 years back when this is described, how much care is taken for the care for the nature and sustainable construction. So that I will try to bring some of these points. And other thing, like we say, overseas influence, this you will find, I will show you these examples, that the same temple structure from north to south in India, from here you go all the way to Angkor Wat in Vietnam and Southeast Asia, you will find the same design. So we had this, it not only tells you about this cultural influence, it also tells you that you had this regular movement of people. There were people who were studying from here or maybe learning from here, and the same knowledge was in all this part of world. It was there. So all these things just into looking into the temples, if you look at it. I have tried to avoid the word Hindu temple. It's what I call is Bharatiya temple. This existed before we started calling things based on this. This is going on for more than 1000 years to 2000 year tradition. And my whole point will be to get these things answered, what we knew, how we knew, and how it is relevant. And this is always, we always talk about that if we want to have students interested, we want to have this coming into our system, how to do it. And this is some of the things we have been now been discussing. It's very nice that government has taken up in our this new education policy, this NEP 2020, and this Indian knowledge system, what we are trying to call Bharati knowledge system or Bharati Gyan Parampara, how to bring those things in here. So that also will try to conclude. Just giving importance, that what are the things it includes. It also includes everything about our philosophy. Most of these temples you will see there is a central pit. This is for meditation, and it started before that is the self-realization, that is the main aim of all this. So what is called in this universal divine, this Purush, it has all the things of the philosophy, all the thing about what we say about, you will see all the elements of Hindu pantheon, from fire, water, nature, deities, everything included in that. And as you are seeing in most of this temple's construction, you go in the center, you always are trying to go towards the moksha. And this is the other definition, so I will go into that. This I had just picked up from this Wikipedia. If you try to go into that, what are the things they will say, what is a temple. So a common thing you will find, this is, I have picked up one style, what this Naga style. This always, these are the general temples you will see, that how these temples are there. There is always a central place, what is called Garbhagriha, and there is the mostly some of the places you will find a deity is there. You go to the more older times, sometimes there will be nothing there, because it was the idea of self-realization. So once you go there, what you are trying to find is, you are trying to find yourself, you are trying to, your divine, which is, as our philosophy, is inside you only. And this is always this shikhar, and then a mandap, and then this ardha mandap. This is more or less, this is the design. Is it documented? There are very well documented documents there. If you go into this Shilp Shastra and Vastu Shastra, you will find all the basic architectural principles are there. It's not just that it is people started doing on their own. There is a whole set of instruction, there are a whole set of teachings, and it's not that it is done in a year. So coming to this, this some of this ancient this text you see in Brihad Samhita, which was written around the 6th century. There are this Vedas in Arva. So all this, what should be a Shilpin? This is talking about Shilp, you know, this is referring to this craft. So what is the qualification? What is a Shilpin? What is a Shilp? And what is Shilp? All this is described in there. A basic structure, so all this is depending on the space, it describes how this should be constructed, what should be the basic structure, and you will see most of them are this in the number. So I will come to that number thing in the couple of okay. So if you go into that, you will find some very interesting things mentioned. It says that you have to start learning from the age 5 to 12, and the highest degree when a person is finally qualified, it goes up to the age of 25. So this is a whole set of education going on for almost 10 to 12 years to become qualified as a and what you should know, it should not, you should be well versed in principle of traditional science, mathematics, painting, geography. It says you should know about the Vedas, so you should know the philosophy, you should know the geometry, you should know this construction. Then only you are allowed to, and after spending 10 to 12 years of study, so it is as good as any architecture course which you do. It is all mentioned there, and people have been following it up, and this is how you become. There is another very interesting thing is, I am just quoting some of the points which I thought I should highlight it, otherwise I won't be able to finish in the full. But there is another very interesting thing which this quoted the text. It also mentioned that just before you break even a rock or cut a tree, you should sort of worship it, you should explain to it, and you should try to take its permission that why you want to disturb this nature, and then you are supposed to take care of that. Is like you will see this, there is lectures on that, and you will see this whole series on that. I will also suggest some of you should read some of this NPTEL lectures from Dr. Shriram, and some of the things are there. So we should look into these things. A lot of things you will find described how you should do, like they will put some oil or milk so that it can regrow and it doesn't do unnecessary damage. So what you come to our center, we are trying to make a building, and they say you cannot even cut a tree, you cannot cut a rock. We are on the Aravali's basically. So this thing, 1,000 years back, it is also mentioned there that these are the things you should take care. Maybe if we had been taking care, we would not have reached this stage there. We have to now restrict everything. You work in a sort of with nature without sort of overusing it. That was the main message which you go. So coming to this design, I was telling this is the common. Most of the temples you will go have follow a common design. These are either they have a very well thought of geometrical design. Most of them you can start with this square structure, which will be either 8 by 8 grid or 9 by 9. These are the most common, but it goes from one, a single. This you can do in earlier a small temple in the home, or you can go to a very big one. So they describe from either one path or to going into 30 into 32 grid, though the most common are 64 and 81. 64 is the most common standard. All of them will follow the same pattern. You have Dev path, you have a Manush path, and you have Pashachika path. You go around when in the temple, you are supposed to do a parikrama. So there is a physical meaning, there is a spiritual meaning. You start from Pashachika path, and this is the Manush. So you have both sides. One side, if you look at it, you have the negative things. Then you move towards the Devik path, so you are going towards the positive things, and finally when you have crossed, you have left these negative things outside, you walk in, you go toward that, and then you reach the inner sanctorum where you are supposed to find the what is called the Brahm path. It can be either 4 square going into the center or just the central space. Depending on that, all of this going into your signifying your movement from the negative things toward the positive, with the end result reaching your self-realization. The same principle will be followed in many of them, and there are many books on this. I have seen this very Stella Kamchik has 2 volumes and very widely described many of the things. So one other very interesting thing, so now how much they knew, a lot of temples you will see in this sort of a shikhar, what we call, how to make it, this is all described there. There is a very simple design which I found was very interesting, how to make a circle from a square. All they did was that this is all mentioned, this design thing, they mentioned the ratios, how you can get this type of structure is a very simple. You take a square, you just rotate 22.5 degrees 3 times, 45 and reach there, and 90 degree, and you just keep on rotating. And you can have 2 radii, so if you have seen those inner ones, so you can have an inner circle and you can have outer circle just by touching this. A lot of temple design you must have seen from outside. I will show you in this Lingaraj temple, the zigzag thing what you see from the outside. This is basically following the simple principle. And it's if you have studied the modern architecture, you will know this is very stable structure if you follow it. And there are the type of things like doveling things, which I am not going into there, but that is also mentioned how to do that. So, and these ratios are all mentioned, and they are generally in harmonics, 1:2, 1:3, 2:3, 2:5. And depending on the temple structure, it also says that this is the most common, most easy to make, but they have also left a lot of flexibility. So this manual says that you can do this, or you can find multiples or algorithms out of that. So then it leaves you with the flexibility to divide, like if you have a more space on the lengthwise. So there are many examples. In last 3-4 slides, I will quickly go through them and just show you how people have later on worked on it. So I just mentioned this thing, so I thought I will come into this because it was recently in the news. So this is what this temple, this if you have gone to Thiruvananthapuram, and this is what he had quoted, you will see this there are windows here. What is interesting about this is when you have this equinox, so I have got some, so this is how it does on every year. So this sun comes and this goes through one and all the windows here. You must have seen it earlier, you might have seen, I think it was 23rd, yeah, this year I think it was 22nd. So this is the older picture. This is it so simple. So this is what you have to understand, there's a lot of things required to make something like that. And how it is the first thing is you should know, just a question, how many of you believe that sun rises in the east? Is it exactly east or it changes? Sorry? No, that is the wrong. That is what they knew 1000 years back, that sun always doesn't rise in the east. Sun rises in the east only once in 6 months. So it always keeps on changing. You must have seen that in your house the shadow, sometime it is coming from this side, sometime it's coming on that side. So the sun direction keeps on changing. 23.5 degrees it will change from one side to the other. And okay, so this is the figure. So if you look at it, it goes from almost this much angle. This is a composite photo from the Google, that sometimes sun is, if this is the east, sometimes sun might be rising from this direction, sometimes sun may be rising in this direction. It's almost going from equinox to the summer solstice to winter solstice. It almost changes 45 degrees. So you can never know where the exact east is there. And to have something like this, you should know exact where the east is. So these things are described in what is called, I think from this talks by now, especially again the students, you must have realized what are the things we are talk about. We had Vedas, we had Purans, and we had a lot of things which are called commentaries. Most of the things which we talk about, if you see, are the commentaries. How these things came up? Because this tradition is started with when you didn't have the writing, and that is how the shlokas came into thing, and you must have Shruti and Smriti. How do you remember and how do you transfer to the next generation? So these were in sort of a coded forms. So shlokas are generally in the coded form. Vedas are very concise. Then there are, you have to explain it, and that is what, and that is why chanting was very important in this time, so that you don't lose the meaning. So once you have in Sanskrit, you have Sanyuktakshas, everything you combine, so that you make them short, so they are as a sut, and then you try to remember it, pass it from generation to generation. And if we had not had the disruption, we would have all this knowledge, but since we didn't have writing, a lot of got disrupted. A lot of it survived what Dr. Sriram and Dr. Subramaniam have been specializing in this, what we call Kerala school. There was less interference on that side, so that survived more. So a lot of knowledge got lost, but these were the ones where the knowledge came from. And then you had on this commentaries on that. So some of these commentaries, this is the example, this Katyan Sulb Sutra. These are the basic comments. So they describe how to find the east. This is a very interesting thing. So I have quoted this, again is from, you will find in Dr. Sriram's lecture also, and then a couple of places you will find this type. So I will not go into the details. So this is the Sanskrit part, this is this English part, and this is how it is done. So you know this getting this time, 5 minutes. Okay. So this is for getting the time, and this it describes that you draw a circle, you look at this shadow movement, and only 2 points where it crosses. will give you the exact east and west. This will work any day. So it describes that you cannot take this a simple set of observation can be done to get even day to get the east-west line. Simple, make a circle, follow it up, and that will give you. It also tells you that that you should not do on any day. It says it only during doesn't follow east and west every day, but how to do it? It describes that. The third verse in this chapter 3 of Tant Sangra will describe you how to take the shadow, how to get from there, and how to get the directions from there. So all these things are described, and that is how you get into east to west line, and that is how they do these things. And deity I didn't mention. The deity is placed in such a way it's supposed to be, when the Lord gets up, supposed to be looking at the east. So that is how it works. So this again, so these are another thing which is very interesting. I won't have time to go in that. I had now a couple of more slides on that in a separate lecture I was doing on that, on the fractals. It is mentioned, some of the books I have just copied. You can see the details from there. And this is the thing I was talking about, the structure. And these are the examples. I am not going into the details, but there are many temples examples. The one I was showing, 68 by 8 and 9 by 9. There are so many temples you will find which have been following the same structure, starting from Lingaraj temple, which was the first photograph you had, 11th century, again following the same structure, going all the way up to I will keep on skipping, these are the different ones. Again, these are different examples, going all the way to the temples of all these in different part of the world. All of them have been following. So the knowledge was from this side to somewhere in the east. So going up to 5,000 kilometers away. So you don't have to tell that what was there. These are some of the references. So I will end here, but the whole message is that whenever you look at the things, you appreciate that and appreciate the knowledge, and let's embed it into our system. Every time you look into these things, appreciate it and try to figure out how these things work. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tripathi, for your invaluable insights into temple design. I now request Honorable Vice Chairman Sir Mr. Vineet Watts and Professor Deshmukh to please present a token of appreciation to Dr. Ambush Tripathi. Thank you, sir. Moving forwards, it's now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Manohar Shinde, MD, PhD in psychiatry. Dr. Shinde has had an esteemed career serving on the technical clinical faculty at UCLA and other prominent US schools of medicine, as well as the Institute of Contemporary Psychoanalysis. He has also been a medical director at several institutions and retired after 29 years of private practice in Los Angeles. In addition to his medical expertise, Dr. Shinde is a dedicated community leader and philanthropist, serving on the boards of numerous nonprofit organizations that support the Indian community in North America. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Manohar Shinde to share his insights on perspective on Bharatiya knowledge system.
Namaskar, everybody. I'm assuming that various dimensions of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara have been covered since yesterday morning. So rather than going into a specific dimension, I thought that maybe I would like to give a bird's eye view about a wide churning that is going on around the Indian knowledge system within the country and around the world. For the last 50 years, I have been in United States working as a psychiatrist, recently took a retirement, and had a passionate interest in Indian knowledge system, although did not have any deep opportunity to really develop some in-depth expertise, but just wanted to listen to, observe, go around, learn, and find out and try to see whether all these dots can be connected. So in the last 15 months, about 65% of the country I have been able to cover. And I would like to share some of my observations and some of my learning that has happened in the last 15 months. Obviously, there are two broad categories of efforts that are going on. One is by the Government of India or Ministry of Education, especially, although there are many divisions that are working, but two in particular that may be worth noticing. One is called the National IKS Coordinating Office, and that is headed by one young, very fine, dynamic gentleman by name Ganti Murthy. Formerly was a professor in Oregon State University, came here, joined as IIT Indore faculty, later on took a 5-year sabbatical, and with tremendous passion and commitment and drive, he has been going around the country and doing a remarkably good job. So there is one. The second institution that also is quite actively working is the UGC. And just give a few illustrative example of their efforts. Last year, they had undertaken how to train 1,000 faculty interested to learn more about IKS so that they can later on become the vehicle for taking the message of IKS to different colleges. So in 4 different locations, about 250 faculty were trained, and then an exam was conducted, and out of that about 200 or 250 people were selected for what is called training the trainer. How to train these 250 people, through which then later on, this year they have a plan for reaching out to 10,000 faculty all over the country. So these are just a few of the government level efforts. I would like to briefly comment about some general efforts that are going on. I had an opportunity to at least visit about half a dozen IITs, and some of the IITs that are already having active IKS centers. So there is probably one of the very remarkable and very inspiring example, I would say, is of the IIT Hyderabad. And especially in the field of science and technology, there's one young faculty by name Mohan Raghavan. He was in industry, later on went to IISc, finished his PhD, joined the faculty position. And that is the first IIT in the country which has launched a MTech and PhD program in what is called in heritage, science and technology. So they have close to about 9 PhD students, close to about 18 MTech students. The first batch just recently, few months back, graduated. And one of the idea is how IKS can ultimately be designed in such a way that it will have a financial viability and an employability potential. On those two ideas, picking up some 3 or 4 different dimensions of IKS and trying to train people or educate people is just one quite remarkable attempt. Similarly, IKS is going on quite actively in IIT Kanpur, IIT Kharagpur, some IITs, IIT Roorkee, where there are clearly some 2, 3 or 4 faculties full-time employed working there. Similarly, another IITs which is working in the field of humanities and social sciences is IIT Madras. They have recently hired about 3 faculties from IKS background. In addition to IITs, there are several NITs also, like the Calicut NIT also is doing quite a remarkable job. In terms of the private universities, also quite a bit of very active effort is going on. Just to quote a few examples, there is a university in Ahmedabad called Indus University, and they have some 6 different schools, and they have a required 2 credit course exposure to every student joining any school of the university, and thereby providing a broad exposure about a familiarity and awareness and knowledge about what IKS is all about. Similarly, the Chanakya University, a newly started university in Bangalore, have 2 related centers. One is called the Center for IKS, and another one is called a Center for the Comparative Study of Culture, which also is very heavily influenced by the IKS frame of reference. Of course, in Pune, there is one MIT, and they have what is called the School of Vedic Sciences. That also is going on for the last 7, 8 years and doing quite a remarkable job. Similarly, the Deva Sanskriti University in Haridwar, the Patanjali University, and these are also predominantly, they consist of the IKS type of thing. Interestingly, another observation was, not only in a formal setting of universities where many others, for example, the Sanskrit universities also are doing quite a bit. Recently, I had an opportunity to go to the Tirupati Central University as well as the Venkateshwara Vedic University and many others. But there are also independent platforms which are also doing quite vigorous work. I'll just quote a few illustrative examples. There is a group of young professionals in Hyderabad which run under the name called Brahat. One, Raghav Krishna, had a very lucrative corporate job, but had a tremendous passion in his heart for dedicating the rest of his life for the enhancement of the IKS. He created this platform, and about 16 young professionals in the prime of their youth, 25, 30, 35, 40, quitting their job and taking up this as a full-time work and working in different aspects of the IKS, doing quite a remarkable work. Similarly, there is a forum called Indica. Some of you might have heard. One gentleman, a chartered accountant, went into business, made tons of money, but had a deep commitment for IKS, every year spending close to 4 to 5 crores of his earning to enhance the IKS work. And some close to over 20 different initiatives they are running, and that is based in Hyderabad, and several full-time people also they are employed. They have an idea of ultimately launching a university specifically specializing in training the teachers and the faculty, both for school level and the college level. It's yet to start, but that is also one of their projects. Similarly, there's a young couple who used to teach at Amrita University in Coimbatore, by name Smriti and Adi Narayana, in computer science, but had a great desire to work full-time for IKS. Then they created a foundation called Anadi Foundation. They have started a Gurukula, and they have also several of the youngsters, young professionals and young graduates have joined them, and now it's a fairly expanding, vibrant group. For example, just one a specific example of their contribution. They decided to bring out a series of simple books on different subjects of BKS or IKS, whichever you want to call it, appropriate for the school children. And close to about 14 different books. Say IKS and Ayurveda, IKS and yoga, IKS and astronomy, IKS and mathematics, IKS and leadership. Like that whole range of books they have brought out, especially very appropriate for the high school kids. And many other activities, especially how to train the teachers and the college faculty. Recently they conducted a 2-day seminar at IIT Madras, where over 200 teachers from a neighboring area had joined for that. So like that, this is another effort that is going on. Just maybe I'll mention 2 more such efforts. There is one called Siddhanta Knowledge Foundation in Chennai. And they also especially bringing out various courses and video material for making the teaching of the BKS more easier. That effort is going on. There is one very good scholar in Bangalore called Shatavdhani Ganesha. He has created a group of about 7 or 8 youngsters who are working, doing research, and in the last several years, they have brought out close to about 40 books on different themes of BKS. So like that, this effort also, I think, is quite remarkably going on. Last year, there was an effort to bring all these different stakeholders to one place and develop a certain sense of confidence that some people are not just isolatedly doing some work in their own ways, but there is a large movement that is going on, both within the country and globally also. Maybe I'll briefly come to the global part. So last year in Pune, in the month of December, about 84 scholars gathered, 49 with academic teaching background, and about 8 or 9 from senior thought leaders of the field, and about 14 such independent platform organizers, and also about half a dozen from the Government of India, Ministry of Education, and some half a dozen industry leaders who are also very passionate about IKS. And about 10 people came from overseas. And there, multiple focus groups were formed, and especially one group that decided to work in a much more focused manner about creating a academic infrastructure that will be facilitative of the IKS journey. So there were 3 ideas that were undertaken. A Section 8 company under the name of IKSHA, IKSHA, acronym for Indian Knowledge System and Heritage Association. So the 3 academic initiatives were whether a systematic and an organized planning that can be put in place whereby in the next 7 to 10 years, an expanding community of scholars, about 108 new PhDs can be generated in different dimensions of IKS. And with that, some group of about a dozen academicians are quite seriously working, creating a panel of supervisors, close to about 155 supervisors they have identified all over the country, different domain experts, so that to work as a co-guide in a given area where the primary supervisor is a good guide, but not having necessarily a specific expertise in that particular domain. Even providing some financial good support to these candidates, so much so that we not only should attract people with commitment and dedication, but also good talent, so that more future thought leaders and future lineage of research guides can come out of this. So the plan is that how to provide about 50,000 rupees per month for 5 years for a doctoral researcher and 80,000 per month for a postdoctoral researcher for 2 years. So this holds system is aiming at entering at least 25 to 30 batch of students or researchers to enter between January and July. And accordingly, I'm very happy to comment that about 26 reliable commitments have already come to support these candidates. The second academic initiative is to launch a high quality, peer-reviewed international IKS journal and a global editorial advisory committee of 14 people has been created. One head of the Department of Humanities from IIT Madras, he is heading the team of the editors, and peer review panels also have been formed. And the first issue will be launched in the first quarter of 2025. 2 issues per year will be there, and it will be a open source, and later on it will be a print version. And one of the major publisher, Sage, is seriously negotiating to be the publisher so that it can have a more wider global reach. So that is the second academic initiative. The third initiative is to organize an annual academic conference whereby the established scholars and newly emerging scholars could have a platform for presenting without compromising the quality of the output, an academic conference. So the first conference will be held in July of 2025, and that is going to be hosted by the Vice Chancellor of the JNU in New Delhi. Just in addition to one last, which is not purely academic, but which is more to create a larger ecosystem and also to be able to mainstream IKS in different dimensions of the society. A international IKS Sangam is being organized in the month of December, and that will be hosted by the Vice Chancellor of the Gujarat University. And there, it is not a paper presentation of a typical academic conference, but where people, for example, IKS and technology, IKS and media, IKS and Gurukul, IKS and entrepreneurs and business leaders. Like that, some 13 different verticals have been identified, and some 8 to 10 people from each of those verticals to be able to come together and see how exactly the IKS effort can be collectively taken forward. I'll just very briefly mention a few illustrative examples of some of the similar effort globally also is going on. In London especially, there is a group of young scholars who have created 2 institutions a couple of years ago. One is called the Earth Charitable Foundation, primarily aiming to mobilize about 10 million pounds of resources for creating a think tank, and the think tank has been named Center for Sustainability. And their idea is that how sustainability is another, what sustains at a micro and macro level is called dharma. So from the lens of dharma, looking and examining a range of challenges and problems faced by the West in general and UK in particular, what type of newer ideas that can be generated to make a more meaningful participation in the global discourse, so that we are not just only copy and paste type of whatever fashionable arises in the West. That's all our Indian delegation tends to present. So, so this is one effort. There is another group which is working in Geneva. There is a forum they have created called Dharma Alliance, and based upon some Indic worldview, how to generate a greater intellectual awareness about these different issues on the contemporary challenges, that effort is going on. In US also, there is a group that is working in Boston. They have created a platform called Boston Center of Excellence, and their primary objective is focusing upon Ayurveda and yoga, and with multiple medical school collaboration, they are organizing annual conferences. At least 2 or 3 conferences they organize in collaboration with the Harvard Medical School and many other schools on the East Coast also. So that is one effort that is going on. There is a new university that has come up in Los Angeles called Vayu, Vivekananda Yoga University, primarily offering online BS, MS and PhD in different aspects of the yoga. And they have close to about 38 faculty working with them, and already 2 batches have graduated in MS. PhD program has just been launched this academic year. The Hindu University of America is another initiative that is located in Orlando, Florida. Currently, as 4 months back when I left USA last time. So there are close to about 2,000 students in certificate and continuing education course, about 80 students in MA and PhD, and about 6 full-time faculty and close to about 42 adjunct faculty. And they are expanding and growing. Recently, they acquired one residential Ayurvedic medical college in the state of California. So that is another effort. There is another foundation called Dharma Civilization Foundation. How to inspire people to participate in what can be called as academic philanthropy. I mean, probably as here in America also, the Indian community is fairly generous in donating money for building temples or for doing various type of service activities or seva projects. So not only to build temples of worship, but also to build temples of learning, temples of knowledge, temples of higher education. So with that idea, so they were able to launch a MA PhD program in Hindu studies in one of the largest theological schools in Berkeley, California, called GTU, Graduate Theological Union. Similarly, they raised $1 million for revitalizing the Hindu University of America and funding various scholars, giving book grants, like that, a whole range of activities the DCF has been doing. So ultimately, maybe in the panel discussion, I will briefly, why BK is necessary? What exactly its idea? So maybe because I was thinking of more focusing upon giving a glimpse about an overview of different type of efforts that are going on, I do not want to combine 2 topics. So I will like to stop here. Thank you very much. I'm going to sit there.
No, so just please wait on the stage. Thank you, Dr. Shinde, for your enlightening talk. I now request our Honorable Vice Chairman, Sir, Mr. Vineet Vats, Shri Uday Birjeji, and Professor Deshmukh to please present a token of appreciation to Dr. Manohar Shinde. Uday, sir. Uday, sir. Oh, felicitation, please.
सबके साथ हो रहे हैं चलो
Thank you, sir. Now, moving on to the last event of the day, which is the panel discussion. It's my honor to welcome Professor A.K. Agarwal, the moderator for the session, who will be moderating the upcoming session. Professor Agarwal, an esteemed researcher and academician from IIT Kanpur, has made significant contributions in the field of IC engines, combustions, and alternative fuels. He is a highly awarded scholar, including the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize and Sir J.C. Bose National Fellowship. The panel also includes panelists Professor Rama Subramanian, Professor Manohar Shinde, Dr. Ambuj Tripathi, and the other moderator, Sri Ravi Iyer ji. I request all the panel members to please join us on stage. The panel members for the panel discussions include Professor Rama Subramanian, Professor Manohar Shinde, Dr. Ambuj Tripathi, and Professor A.K. Agarwal, who's joining us online. There are two moderators for the session, Professor A.K. Agarwal, who's joining us online, and Sri Ravi Iyer ji.
Very hearty welcome to this panel discussion. We are very privileged to have two moderators here. Professor Agarwal from IIT Jodhpur. Professor Agarwal, thank you very much for joining us online. We are missing you in person, but still a great privilege to have you online.
Thank you, sir.
We also have Sri Ravi Iyer ji, who will be moderating the discussion. Our panel members are Dr. Ambuj Tripathi from Inter-University Accelerator Center, Dr. Manohar Shinde, and Professor K. Ramasubramanian. So I just wanted to introduce the panel members to Professor Agarwal, who is joining us from Jodhpur. And let me request Sri Ravi Iyer ji to open the panel discussion.
नमस्ते फ्रेंड्स। कल और आज 2 दिन से हम भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा, भारतीय नॉलेज सिस्टम पे बात कर रहे हैं। कई विषयों पे हमने चर्चा किया है। थोड़ा सा उसको समराइज करने की दृष्टि से भी इसको समझा सकता है। एक प्रश्न तो सभी के मन में आएगा, आपके नहीं लेकिन आपके आने वाले दिनों में कई लोग पूछेंगे, इज दिस रिलेवेंट टुडे? हम लोग अभी 21वीं शताब्दी में है, व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी खुल गया है, फेसबुक यूनिवर्सिटी चल रहा है, ट्विटर यूनिवर्सिटी है, यूट्यूब है, उसमें बहुत सारे इन्फॉर्मेशन हमको मिल रहे हैं। और आज सभी देशों का प्रायोरिटी है इकोनॉमी। तो क्या BKS आज के संदर्भ में रेलेवेंट है? डॉक्टर मनोहर शिंदे दुनिया भर में घूमते हैं, अनेक यूनिवर्सिटी में उनके स्पीचेस हुए हैं। उन्होंने अपने जीवन का बहुत बड़ा अच्छा काल इस प्राइम यूथ नौकरी सब छोड़कर समाज की सेवा के लिए अमेरिका से भारत में आके काम किया है। तो अनेक दृष्टि से वो मेरे लिए सीनियर है। तो मैं उनसे पूछूंगा कि व्हाट इज़ द रेलेवेंस ऑफ भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा इन टुडेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट?
I think it's a very important question that we need to grapple with. It's a huge topic, but I will just touch upon a couple of aspects to it. number one, I think every civilization, every country needs to have some sense about what was their record of knowledge production. It appears that after Macaulay, the way we were made completely unaware about our knowledge contribution. I mean, after all, a civilization that has still living for the last 5,000 years must have created some knowledge. So, to become more fully aware about our past performance in the domain of knowledge production, to evoke a healthy sense of pride. So that can be taken as the first part, so that we just do not remain simply knowledge consumer, but we can also be the knowledge producer. So that's number one. Number two, I'll just give maybe a couple of quick examples that may illustrate what could be its relevance today. After all this also need not be only about coming to know what happened in the past, but what is its application and relevance today and tomorrow for the Indian context and for the global context. So, I recently was talking to a friend who happens to be working very closely with the former chairman of TCS, Ramadurai, and apparently they have undertaken this assumption or this premise that there is something very distinctive and unique about the Indian knowledge system, the way it allows to think about a phenomena, approach a problem, formulate a question. So they have apparently submitted a research proposal to the chairman of the Tata Group. And what is the proposal? In summary, I mean, the way at least I could understand, is that in all the earlier phases of evolution of AI as one of the front-ranking aspect of the technology, India has never been in the front row. So their assumption is that if a in-depth, thorough, systematic research is done on, in the domain of the IKS or BKS, it has a potential that in the future phases of evolution of AI, India can aspire to be in the front row. It's a 200 crore project that has been submitted, and apparently, at least the feedback I got is that it has been approved and some work has begun, and probably they might not have yet made a big public announcement about it. But, so this is just one small example. You know, another friend in Bangalore was making a very interesting comment. He said, just take the example of happiness. Happiness, a typical Western frame of reference, tends to pose a question, what will give happiness? Whether it is money, whether it is standard of living, whether it is car, whether it is certain type of house and amenities, this, that, etc., etc. The Indian way of approaching the same issue, what is the nature of happiness? There is an ocean of difference between the two. I'm not saying the first one is not relevant, but a much more deeper inquiry is what is the nature of happiness? Especially in certain domains like take the environment and ecology, I think all the serious effort that seems to be going on all over the world about whether it is called sustainable development or about how to save the planet or about all types of things, they seem to lack one particular thing, that the type of attitude and perspective towards life, the worldview about life, the paradigm of life that has given rise to the current ecological crisis. You cannot solve it only by without addressing whether the current style of living itself is generating this problem. So it will have to be something beyond that. For example, I think when the Judeo-Christian view of life is that the God has created this world for the benefit of the humans, and we will conquer the world, and we will exploit the resources. Now, unless there is a very profound foundational rethinking about, when the whole activity, whole economic activity is driven by one singular idea of profit, what can be called in our Chatur Purusharthas, we say Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. We are not saying Artha is not important. Artha is very important. Sensuous pleasure or Kama is also very important. But it has to be genuinely balanced within the limits of the Dharma and the Moksha. So, if the entire economic model and activity is driven by Artha as a dominant driving force, then probably it is not going to ever be possible to really make a true difference in the current crisis that is going on. Like that, there are many, many issues in which there can be a profound implication. Only thing, we have to become knowledgeable. We have to study. We have to go deeper. We have to put our life into it. We have to do some deeper research. Then only we'll be able to have a better idea about. So ultimately, in the global discourse, we shall, if we want to aspire to be a respectable member, participating in the discourse, making our own contribution of ideas and thoughts, Indian knowledge system also will be one very important source of knowledge that we need to educate ourselves into. So I'll stop here.
धन्यवाद जी, आपने अच्छा बताया कि दुनिया के किसी भी भाषा में धर्म नहीं है, धर्म के बिना आप शांति नहीं ला सकते हैं, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो सकता है। लेकिन जब शब्द ही नहीं है तो उसके नज़दीक कैसे जाएंगे? तो धीरे धीरे धर्म इज़ यूज्ड इन इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज, बट थोड़ा सा केवल शब्द उसको नहीं उपना, उसके पीछे एक हमारे यहाँ तो हेरिटेज है, पूरा 10,000 वर्ष का धर्म के लिए हमारे लोगों ने जीवन मूल्य बनाकर जिया है, वो ट्रेडिशन है, वहाँ ट्रेडिशन नहीं है। बहुत अच्छा है आपने बताया कि विदाउट ट्रेडिशन मेनी कंट्रीज डिसअपियर, व्हेन द चैलेंजेस कम दे विल डिसअपियर। तो ये एक है, अच्छा बात है। नाउ आई रिक्वेस्ट प्रोफेसर अविनाश जी, यू वांट टू से समथिंग, यू वांट टू आस्क समथिंग? हाँ जी।
Maybe I will make a few remarks for a couple of minutes and then maybe I'll start playing my role as a moderator, if you allow me, sir.
अच्छा ठीक है।
So it's a truly an honor and privilege for me to be a part of this panel discussion on Bharatiya knowledge system. And I'm really grateful to Symposium Chair, Dr. Professor P.C. Deshmukh, for organizing this remarkable event, which promises to be an intellectually enriching experience that brings together the finest minds to discuss profound contributions on Bharatiya knowledge system. The Bharatiya knowledge system, as it stands, is a remarkable testament of India's intellectual richness, deeply rooted in ancient traditions, wisdom, and philosophies. This system has transcended centuries, offering timeless insights that continue to shape not only India, but the world at large. It covers a wide range of disciplines from philosophy, science, mathematics, astronomy, architecture, to health sciences, and it emphasizes on interconnectedness of human existence, human conscience, and human knowledge. Bharatiya knowledge system, this focuses on topics such as astronomy, life science, health, wellness, Ayurveda, and data science, and these are extremely pertinent in today's context. These subjects are not only for academic pursuit, they are also the foundations of the societal development. Bharatiya knowledge in system in astronomy gave the world some of the earliest and most accurate models. Indian mathematicians such as Aryabhatta and Bhaskara made groundbreaking contributions that laid the groundwork for modern mathematics. The intersection of data science and Bharatiya tradition also offers a fascinating frontier today. In today's era of big data and artificial intelligence, the world is deeply and increasingly turning to data-driven solutions. However, our ancient traditions already hold deep insights into human behavior, nature, and cosmos, which could be analyzed through modern technologies to create more balanced and sustainable solution for today's problem. The Bharatiya knowledge system, with its holistic worldview, perfectly aligns with modern data science methodologies that seeks to understand the interconnectedness of the systems and data. At IIT Jodhpur, we have been actively exploring the ways to incorporate these interdisciplinary approaches into our academic and research programs. By drawing both from Bharatiya knowledge system and cutting edge technologies, we aim to create a unique learning ecosystem that not only prepare our students to excel in modern industries, but also to instill in them a deep appreciation of our cultural heritage. For instance, we have initiatives that focus on sustainable development, healthcare, and renewable energy, which not only are technologically advanced, but also they are inspired by the wisdom of our ancestors who lived in harmony with nature. Unfortunately, because of my commitment, I could not be with you, and I am missing the learning on this part, hearing all the distinguished gentlemen on and off the dais. But I'm very happy to be part of it, and I would like to just put one question to distinguished panelists. How do you foresee the role of technical institutions in revival of the Bharatiya knowledge system and its propagation, its exponential propagation among our students? Anybody can take that question, sir.
Thank you for inviting me to be a part of the panel. You would have seen, students, that people starting from Professor Mahadevan up to Dr. Shinde, who are talking here, were invariably trying to impress upon you to understand the rich scientific and technological heritage of India. That India has been not only extremely good in philosophy and religion and spirituality, but it has been extremely productive in terms of science and technology also, was the point which has been driven by all people. Even Professor Avinash was mentioning this. But how many of us are aware of this fact? Almost zero. Even me, and I'm sure Professor Deshmukh or anybody else, till recent times, we have been hardly aware of the contributions that have been made. Another point which was made by Ravi Iyer when he was mentioning was the fact that China he has been there many a times, he told me, and I have also been there several times. The fact that I could notice was every Chinese is made aware of their own scientific and technological heritage. In Beijing, I have seen thousands of footprints on a day-to-day basis to make their children aware of their rich heritage. Literally thousands. They are built in squares of tens of thousands, I would just say, meters, that kind of exhibition. So, but here we are absolutely not aware of our scientific and technological heritage. So, when he asked this question, how does the technological institute play a role? So, it is essential that people who are well grounded in science and technology, they look at this knowledge system. See, there is no point in brooding over ignorance. So, we have to shed the ignorance first, keep an open mind, look at them, and then clearly understand, and for us to communicate effectively in the language in which those people are aware of. So, this is a must, and technological institutes have to necessarily play a crucial role. You might have established yourself in a particular field. In fact, I am deeply indebted to Professor Sriram, Professor Srinivas, and so on, so who have established themselves as good theoretical physicists. Had they not taken the project on accuracy and optimality of algorithms, 30 years back. So I don't think I would have got myself aware of this rich scientific and technological heritage. I was trained in Vedanta from my family side, and I also had studied MSc Physics. Till my MSc Physics, now he was mentioning Aryabhatta, Bhaskara, etc. I have not heard of those names. So when I started looking into that, it was quite fascinating journey, and till today I have absolutely no regrets for having invested all my time in understanding this. The second aspect is, it is not question of who was first and who was later in discovering something, but the kind of discoveries that have been made in the Indian tradition are in a completely different line. So the same infinite series would have been arrived at, but then the way they have arrived at is completely different. And the pedagogical aspect that we find here is something which is phenomenal. When I try to offer courses in IIT, many of the students get excited. So there are two aspects to it. One, in order to clearly give a certain exposition to what is available here, we need to have people who have sound technological and scientific background in modern terms to look into it. Second, though it may be known, but we need to provide how it has been discovered here, so that we can find our own ways of doing this research. It is not that the same discovery could not have been done in completely different routes. If you have understood in a particular way, if you try to understand in a completely different way, that itself is a great fascinating journey. And the point here is, there are much simpler ways in which you will be able to understand. In fact, I must tell you, I must admit, that though I had done, physics and mathematics, engineering as well as other things, unless I had a good exposure to the way these things have been presented in the Indian text, I don't think I will have much clarity on many of these aspects. And many students, really I tell you, very bright minds in IIT Bombay, appreciate the approach. So many students who have math phobia, they are likely to leave that phobia, provided it is taught in the way it has been taught for hundreds and hundreds of years. It is a very well established methods are there. We have completely thrown them into dustbin, and we have adopted a completely abstract way, and thereby it creates a certain phobia. So I think this is very relevant. That's all I wanted to answer. Thank you.
बहुत अच्छा है. He says we should think of an alternative way of doing things. मैं आपको एक उदाहरण बताता हूँ. पाइथागोरस थ्योरम आप सब जानते हैं, a² + b² + c² = c². लेकिन इसमें एक प्रॉब्लम है. इफ a and b are given, how to find c? You will find c². But c² से c कैसे लाना? Every number cannot be square rooted. What is square root of 2? What is square root of say 8? बहुत टफ है. तो एक प्राचीन ग्रंथ में ए सिंप्लीफाइड वे ऑफ बताया है, वो आपको सामने बताता हूँ. आप है a, b और c. Assuming a is, whenever a is bigger than b, तो जो बड़ा है उसको a समझ लीजिए. The answer is very simple. 7/8 of a plus b by 2 is equal to c. There is no need for taking square root. अभी उदाहरण के लिए ले लीजिए 3, 4 and 5 है ना, उसको डबल कीजिए 6, 8 and 10. 8 is big. So what is 7/8 of 8? 7/8 of 8 is 7. Half of b is 6. Half of b is 3. ऐड करो, 7 + 3 is 10. आ गया. ये भी था हमारे यहाँ. ऐसे बहुत सारे शॉर्टकट्स हमारे ज्ञान परंपरा में है, इसलिए वी आर एबल टू बिल्ड सच ह्यूज टेम्पल्स. नहीं तो वहाँ कौन स्क्वायर रूट बनाते बैठेगा? वेरी डिफिकल्ट. तो आप देख सकते हैं कि एवरीवेयर ट्रायंगल्स आर इन्वॉल्व. फिर भी उन्होंने कैसे किया, और वो भी सम टेम्पल्स आर बिल्ट इन द रिवर्स वे. उन्होंने एक उदाहरण बताया था कि कैलाश टेम्पल, वो तो रिवर्स में पूरे पहाड़ को. लेकिन आप अगर गुजरात में जाओगे, वहाँ एक मंदिर, एक तालाब है, यानी उसको स्टेप वेल कहते हैं. तो शुरू में लोगों को लगा इट इज़ जस्ट ए स्टेप्स लीडिंग टू वाटर बिलो. बाद में जब गए तब पता चला इट इज़ ए इन्वर्टेड टेम्पल. तो एक इन्वर्टेड टेम्पल बनाते समय भी बहुत सारी तकलीफ होती है, लेकिन उसमें सब जगह पे ट्रायंगल्स आते हैं. and triangles you cannot manage without a square root, लेकिन they must have had some easy way of thinking. मैं अभी अम्बुज जी से एक प्रश्न पूछना चाहता हूँ. जब भारत के प्रधानमंत्री पापा न्यू गिनिया गए, आपको मालूम है वहाँ के प्रधानमंत्री जेम्स मरापे रात को देर रात कर एयरपोर्ट में रुके और जैसे ही आए उनका पैर छुआ. बहुत सारे प्रेस वालों ने उनसे पूछा, पैर छूना तो ये हम लोग क्रिश्चियन देश है, क्रिश्चियनिटी में ये होता नहीं है, व्हाई डिड यू डू दिस? ही डिफेंडेड व्हाट ही डिड कि भारत विश्व का गुरु है, इसलिए मैं भारत से जो भी आता है वो मेरे लिए गुरु है, मैं उनका पैर छूकर ही स्वागत करूंगा. आपको कुछ कहना है क्या अम्बुज जी?
एक्चुअली ये तो जिसको कहते हैं कि नॉलेज का सिस्टम था, तो उसको मेंटेन करना, ये जो रिस्पेक्ट आता है ये तो ऑटोमेटिक आता है. और ये हमारे यहाँ जिसने पूरे टाइम से रहा है, जो अभी प्रश्न उन्होंने पहले ये जो किया था कि सबसे ज़रूरी क्या है, सबसे पहले सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस ज़रूरी होता है और हम उसके बाद ही आगे सारी चीज़ें कर सकते हैं. जैसे ये टेम्पल वाला एग्जाम्पल मैं दे रहा था, उसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ें, उसमें सबसे पहली एक चीज़ है कि आप बनाना शुरू करोगे तो आपको ये तो पता है ना कि ये 1000 साल खड़ा रह सकता है. तो जो किसी ने देखा है, आपने तो नहीं बनाया है लेकिन किसी ने 1000 साल पहले बनाया था, तो वो जो है उसके साथ जो एक रिस्पेक्ट आता है कि ये हम कर सकते हैं. और यहाँ के सिस्टम का सबसे बड़ा जो रिस्पेक्ट का रीज़न रहा है, आप जब सबको रेस्पेक्ट देते हैं देन यू गेट द रेस्पेक्ट, एंड दैट इज़ वन ऑफ द फंडामेंटल थिंग्स हियर. ये जो मैं उसका देख रहा था, नेचर को यहाँ पे आपने हर चीज़ को रेस्पेक्टफुली डील किया है, चाहे वो रिवर्स हो. पूजा के हमारे सिस्टम में हर चीज़ को हमने रेस्पेक्ट दिया है इक्वल. उसमें स्टोन को जो मैं एग्जांपल दे रहा था कि स्टोन को भी वर्शिप करते हैं. वर्शिप करना खाली एक सिंबॉलिक सेंस में नहीं होता है, उसको ये होता है कि हम इसकी जो भी नेचर में है हर चीज़ की हम रेस्पेक्ट कर रहे हैं. और सस्टेनेबिलिटी कहीं ना कहीं वहीं से आती है, जिन चीज़ों पे हम अब घूम के वापस आते हैं कि सस्टेनेबल हमारा डेवलपमेंट होना चाहिए. और इसके पीछे आप हर चीज़ की जब आप रेस्पेक्ट करेंगे तब ये वहाँ से आता है, और जब आप सबकी रेस्पेक्ट करेंगे देन यू गेट बैक द रेस्पेक्ट. सो आई डोंट नो, बट आई थिंक दिस इज़ हाउ यू फाइनली जनरेट द रेस्पेक्ट.
मुझे लगता है कि भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को अगर हमें पॉपुलराइज करना है तो इसमें थोड़ा एक फ्रेश अप्रोच लेने की ज़रूरत है. जैसा आप कह रहे हैं, जो भी हमारी चीज़ें हैं पुरानी और भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा की, उसको फैक्ट बेस्ड और एविडेंस बेस्ड होना चाहिए. हमारी भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को बहुत बड़ा नुकसान जो है वो व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी से हुआ है. कुछ भी लिखते हैं और उससे एक्चुअली काफ़ी रिडिक्यूल होता है हम लोग. तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है कि हम लोग इसको साइंटिफिक एविडेंस तरीके से अगर प्रेजेंट करेंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा. और इस दिशा में मैं आप लोगों के ध्यान में एक प्रयास लाना चाहूँगा. AICT जो है, उन्होंने लगभग 200 इंजीनियरिंग की किताबें अभी नई लिखवाई हैं इंजीनियरिंग के कोर्सेज के लिए. फंडामेंटल फर्स्ट ईयर, सेकेंड ईयर, शायद थर्ड ईयर का प्रयास अभी चल रहा है. उनका एक बहुत बड़ा प्रयास है भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को भारतीय भाषाओं में देने का, इंजीनियरिंग को या प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज को भारतीय भाषाओं में देने का. और ये सारी किताबें जो हैं वो IIT NITs के प्रोफेसर्स के द्वारा लिखी गई हैं. और उसमें आपको जान के खुशी होगी कि एक चैप्टर एंड में भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा के ऊपर है, IKS, इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम के ऊपर. तो जितनी भी हमारी पुरानी चीज़ें हैं जो एविडेंस बेस्ड हैं और प्रूवन हैं, वो अभी छात्रों को दी जा रही हैं इन बुक्स के माध्यम से. और ये बुक्स फ्री टू डाउनलोड अवेलेबल हैं AICT के वेब पोर्टल से, और इनको ज़्यादातर कॉलेजेस इनको अडॉप्ट भी कर रहे हैं. तो ये एक रेलेवेंट एक इनिशिएटिव जो है हमारे AICT के जो लीडर्स हैं उन्होंने लिया है. और मुझे लगता है कि इससे भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को सही परिप्रेक्ष्य में जो है लोगों के बीच में ले जाने में आसानी होगी.
जिस सर ने ये पॉइंट रेस किया, मैं हमेशा इस चीज़ को बहुत पॉइंट आउट करता हूँ. मैं अपने इसलिए लेक्चर में भी कह रहा था जो अभी अग्रवाल प्रोफेसर अग्रवाल ने कहा, ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है कि हम उतना ही कहें जिसमें कि जो साइंटिफिकली प्रूवन चीज़ हो। नहीं तो ये एक मैं अभी आईआईटी बॉम्बे में गया था, वहाँ पे मैंने किसी ने बोला मुझे एक कि आप ये नहीं हो जाना चाहिए कि हमने इस पे काम करना शुरू किया और लोगों ने आपको स्यूडो साइंटिस्ट डिक्लेयर कर दिया। तो अगर आप एक बार भी ऐसी चीज़ें कहेंगे उसमें आप लूप में ट्रैप हो जाते हैं, देन पीपल से कि ये तो किसी भी चीज़ को कुछ भी कहते हैं। तो ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है और हम लोग ने हमेशा ये कोशिश किया है। जैसे ये एग्ज़ाम्पल था एक कि हमें ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हम जो ये डॉक्टर श्रीराम का लेक्चर में चीज़ कई बार आती है कि अगर हम हेलियोसेंट्रिक सिस्टम की बात कर रहे हैं तो हमें हर चीज़ को क्लेम करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। हो सकता है कि हमारा जो ऑब्जर्वेशन था वो बेटर था, सही था, तो हम क्लेम करें कि हमारे में लिखा हुआ था कि अर्थ एंड एवरी प्लैनेट इज मूविंग अराउंड द सन। वी शुड नॉट क्लेम दैट अनलेस वी हैव ए प्रूफ ऑफ दैट। सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है कि हमने सब लोगों से पहले इंडिपेंडेंटली ऑब्जर्व किया था, उस मोशन की एक एनालिसिस की थी और उसके बाद हमने उसको पॉइंट आउट किया था कि हम ये चीज़ें डेफिनेटली कह सकते हैं और क्या चीज़ें हम डेफिनेटली नहीं कह सकते हैं। जो चीज़ें आप उसमें देखेंगे, जो ये यहाँ के उसमें बात आती है, जो सोलर सिस्टम के हेलियोसेंट्रिक मॉडल से एक चीज़ जो मैच नहीं करती है वो साइंटिफिकली ज़्यादा एक्यूरेट है जो ऑब्जर्व हुआ, क्योंकि नाउ वी नो बाय रिलेटिविटी कि ऑब्जर्वेशन जिस फ्रेम में है उसमें हम उस चीज़ को डेफिनेटली नहीं कह सकते हैं। सो दे हैड ए 100% एक्यूरेट ऑब्जर्वेशन, एनालिसिस वाज लिमिटेड, क्योंकि आपको हर चीज़ नहीं पता होती, तो हमें ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हम हर चीज़ को कहें कि हमारे पास थी। जो थी जिस टाइम पे थी उस टाइम पे उन जो बाकी लोगों को मालूम था उससे बहुत आगे थी। तो ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि हमें वो कैसे मालूम था, क्या मालूम था, और हर चीज़ को क्लेम कर देने से वो हमारी क्रेडिबिलिटी कहीं उसमें वो फिर कमी आ जाती है। तो ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि जब भी हम इन चीज़ों को बात करें तो जो हम प्रूव कर सकते हैं, जैसे श्लोक हैं, पहले आप उसको लिखिए, जो भी हैं सब ज़्यादातर पुराने हैं तो संस्कृत में होंगे, वेद के जो भी हैं उसका आप ट्रांसलेशन लिखिए, उसके बाद आप उसकी एनालिसिस करिए और इंटरप्रिटेशन अपना दीजिए कि हमारे हिसाब से ये इसका इंटरप्रिटेशन है, और उसके जस्ट स्टिक करें। मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स एट दैट टाइम, ये मैंने एक एग्जाम्पल पहले भी दिया था हम लोग के, आप हमारे सेंटर में आएंगे तो हम लोग ने ऑडिटोरियम का नाम कणाद ऑडिटोरियम रखा है। तो कणाद पे लोग कहते हैं कि साइंटिस्ट उन्होंने एटॉमिक थ्योरी दिया, उन्होंने वो कणों की और उसकी अणु की बात किया था। वो ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जो आज मॉडर्न साइंस वाला है एटम उस एटम की बात थी। वो एक फ़िलॉसफी है कि आप पार्टिकल किसी भी मटेरियल को कितने छोटे तक जा सकते हैं और कब तक वो अपनी प्रॉपर्टी रिटेन करेगा, कब वो अपनी प्रॉपर्टी लूज़ कर देगा। तो हम इट इज़ एज गुड एज ए पार्टिकल थ्योरी या एटम और मॉलिक्यूल की उसमें परिभाषा है। तो और जिस समय वो दी गई थी उस समय के वो समय से बहुत आगे थी कि किसी ने इस चीज़ को एनालाइज किया कि प्रॉपर्टी किसी एक लेवल के नीचे जाके चेंज हो जाती है। सो दे वर नॉट इसेंशियली व्हाट वी कॉल साइंटिस्ट और फिजिसिस्ट टुडे, दिस पीपल वेर फिलोसफर्स। तो पहले फिलॉसफी आती है, फिर साइंस आती है, उसके बाद इंजीनियरिंग आती है। तो ये अपने टाइम की चीज़ें हैं और ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है तो कि हम उन चीज़ों को ध्यान रखें। और ये भी जो बात और प्रोफेसर अग्रवाल की, ये भी हम लोग पहले भी मेंशन किया गया था कि हमें इसको सिस्टम में एम्बेड करने का मतलब है हम अलग से पूरा एक सब्जेक्ट रखते हैं तो एक उसको कहीं न थोड़ा सा कहीं उसमें अगर पॉलिटिकल या वो टच आ जाता है तो एक आदमी ले आता है, दूसरा उसको हटाने लगता है। उससे बेटर है हमारे सिस्टम में आए, जैसे पाइथागोरस वाली बात हुई थी, जब हम बात करें a स्क्वायर प्लस b स्क्वायर इज इक्वल टू c स्क्वायर, तो हम ये भी बताएं कि पाइथागोरस ने कहा था, हम ये भी बताएं कि बाकी लोगों ने क्या कहा था, और यहाँ का हम हमेशा बोधायन का क्या था और किसने वराह मेरे के जो भी हैं, जिस भी हम चैप्टर की बात कर रहे हैं उसमें यहाँ का क्या था, हम उसको उस चैप्टर में एम्बेड कर दें तो मेरे ख्याल से वो ज़्यादा इफ़ेक्टिव होगा कि हम बाकी सबकी भी बात करें, हम अपनी भी बात करें।
अपनी भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा में एक बहुत बड़ी विशेष बात है, इफ़ somebody comes with a theory that is opposed to my theory, we still रेस्पेक्ट हिम और उसकी बातें मान लेते हैं। ग्रीस लोग थोड़े आगे थे, तो पाइथागोरस ने जब पाइथागोरस थ्योरम बताया तो उसके बाद कुछ लोगों ने इर्रेशनल नंबर के बारे में चर्चा करने लगे। तो पाइथागोरस के जो शिष्य लोग थे उन्होंने उन सब लोगों का कत्लेआम कर दिया। पाइथागोरस हैज़ नॉट मेंशन्ड इर्रेशनल नंबर्स, हाउ कैन यू टॉक अबाउट इर्रेशनल नंबर्स करके उनको मार डाला। अगर इस प्रकार का द्वेष होगा तो वहाँ साइंस डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो सकता है। आर्किमिडीज वॉज वेरी फर्म कि विमेन हैव ओनली 28 टीथ और बिकॉज दे आर सपोज टू बी इन्फीरियर। अब इस प्रकार से आप रखेंगे ना, ऑल ही हैज़ टू डू इज अपने माँ का, अपने बहन का, अपने पत्नी का, बेटी का अगर मुंह खोल के देख लेता था तो दे ऑल्सो हैव 32 टीथ। लेकिन ये रैशनैलिटी न होने के कारण उनमें बहुत डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो सका। लेकिन भारत में भी अग्रे कि किसी ने बोला कि मैं भगवान विष्णु को मानता हूँ, कोई बोलता है कि मैं शिव को मानता, कोई बोलता मैं मानता ही नहीं हूँ, सब चलता है यहाँ। दैट इज़ नॉट द लाइफ पर। लेकिन धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष इसको मानना पड़ेगा। दिस आर दी फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स। तो ये कुछ फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स पे हमारे लोग खड़े थे और ये जो द्वेष की भाषा नहीं करते थे, इसलिए हमारा बहुत आगे निकला था उस समय। अभी डॉक्टर राम सुब्रमण्यम मैथमेटिक्स सिखाते हैं, फिर एस्ट्रोनॉमी सिखाते हैं प्राचीन परंपरा से। ऐसे कुछ बात बताइए जो आज के लिए बहुत चमत्कारिक हो सकता है। बहुत सारे लोगों ने जो ऑटो सेकेंड का बात किया है, क्योंकि अभी ऑटो सेकेंड के ऊपर 2023 में 10 to the power -18 टाइम का उसको नोबेल प्राइज़ मिला है। अब 10 to the power -18 शायद हमारे शास्त्रों में नहीं होगा, लेकिन शास्त्रों में कुछ तो होगा ना, तृतीय होगा, तत्परा होगा, कुछ तो होगा। तो हमें भी बताइए क्या था वो। फिर किसी एक ने बताया ऑटोफेजी कि आप उपवास करेंगे। योशीगुरु उसने बताया कि आप इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग इज़ गुड फॉर हेल्थ। ऐसे कुछ चीज़ें जो आज भी हमारे लिए प्राचीन परंपरा से हम ले सकते हैं, तो उसका थोड़ा बताइए राम सुब्रमण्यम।
See, one interesting thing that some of you students, so this is a very simple question. We have been taught that earth is moving around the sun, right? Suppose somebody were to ask you, how do you know? Earth is moving around the sun. इसका कुछ आंसर नहीं है. So most of the things that we just study, we just take for granted. Earth is spherical in nature. Can you just give me why? How do you know? So there are very, very interesting things in mathematics. I mean, he was just mentioning Pythagorean theorem. So आप भी बता रहे थे. In fact, there is a very, very interesting procedure that has been given where you can find the square root of any number. आप just एक triangle डाल दो. You have to just draw a triangle. You can find the square root of any number, I am telling you. Any n. So by just having a rope. It's not a joke. This was essential. And therefore they had found very, very interesting methods which we are totally unaware of. Now when you talk about this finer notions of time, so if you want to divide, so length of large proportions, yesterday Mahadevan was mentioning during his talk, we have talked about 10 to the power 41, 10 to the power 143, etc., etc. This is a large scale thinking in general. When you go to the smaller units of time, so there are various measures which have been mentioned in various texts. So they have a certain way of even explaining this thing. Suppose you take a needle and then pierce it with 100 lotus petals, whatever is the time. Another interesting thing, let me tell you, that through T and various other notions of time that we have, there is an interesting article which has been recently published even by Professor R. N. Iyengar in this connection, having conducted some experiments. But this is something which has been there for a long period of time. How do you first of all even devise a certain instrument to measure time? And when something is going on, how do you make an estimate? See, think of the days where they had absolutely no clocks. Did they not have any sense of time? I tell you, my own childhood, I used to stay in my village with my grandfather, and we used to sleep outside the house with a cot. And in the morning, he will just wake up and then say it is 4:30. How? By just looking at the stars in the sky. So there are various ways in which you can make an estimate, and these are things which are very, very natural and which have become totally unaware, which we have become totally unaware of. So in fact, our time-keeping instruments are only the motions of sun and moon around the earth. Okay, this is regarding, there are various lower units of time which will go up to 10 to the power minus 8, etc., which we will leave it for the moment. So coming to another interesting remark which you were making, which is very essential today. So this notion of happiness, loneliness, etc., this is something which is bothering, and so many psychologists are being prepared today, and as children get into depression, this, that, etc., which was unheard of 40 years ago. So every place, we want. Now there is a very interesting question. You are also talking about this happiness. There is a short work which has been, hey Babu, Suno. There is a short work which has been written by Shankara Bhagavad Pada. He asked this question, Kim Sukham? What is the answer? One word. Tushtihi is the answer. Kim Sukham, what is happiness? This is a beautiful work which is called Prashnottara Ratnamalika, where very short questions will be there and very short pithy answers, but extremely profound in their nature. Tushtihi is the answer. What is tushtihi? It means a certain sense of satisfaction. Santosha. Now you just see, it has been elaborated in another verse by Bhartrihari. He says, Vayamiha paritushtaha valkalais tvam dukulaihi. With an example, this will make a lot of impression. That's why I am just quoting this verse. Vayamiha paritushtaha valkalaihi tvam dukulaihi samaiha paritoshaha nirvishesho visheshaha satu bhavati daridraha yasya trishna vishala manasi cha paritushte korthavan kodaridraha. He says, he just looks at Vayamiha paritushtaha. So a person who is forest dweller, he says, we are happy with bar garments. Valkalaihi tvam dukulaihi. Maybe you feel happy only when you wear the highest form of silk. Samaiha paritoshaha. The happiness is one and the same. Nirvishesho visheshaha. What is the distinction? That there is no distinction is the distinction in terms of happiness. Whether you sleep in a cot which is 60,000 rupees or you sleep in a mat which is 60 rupees, the sukha is one and the same, right? Nirvishesho visheshaha. Then he further adds, Satu bhavati daridraha. So only that fellow is a daridra. Yasya trishna vishala. Whose greed is unlimited. Whose greed is unlimited. We have this famous example. So as he is from US, we have this famous example of Rajat Gupta, who was a normal man and he became McKinsey's chairman. And this trishna was the factor which actually made him fall from the highest level to someone who is shamed by the whole world. Yasya trishna vishala. He was having a wealth which was giving him almost $1,000 only in interest per day. But still, he wanted to make much more, and he committed something which brought him down. So that is what this poet is beautifully conveying. Satu bhavati daridraha yasya trishna vishala manasi cha paritushte korthavan kodaridraha. See? So if you are happy within, who is rich man and who is a poor man? So you don't need to consider yourself a pauper. So only those fellows are pauper whose greeds are unlimited. So this is how the factor of At a higher philosophical level, I am telling you, there is only one verse which I want to tell you, but these are things which are very, very, very important for us to understand in order to drop this. See, nowadays, most of the problem arises because of the complex that people develop. If somebody has this, I should also have this. If somebody has this, I should also have this. If somebody has this, I have to. All kinds of complexes are imposed upon themselves. And there is one verse which you should just keep in mind and then think over it. There is a verse which is in Shatashloki. Shankaracharya has written, Yah kaschit saukhya hetoho trijagati yatate naiva dukkhasya hetoho. He says the source of happiness and the source of sorrow. He just puts in one verse. Keep this in mind and you will realize the importance of this. Yah kaschit. Yah kaschit means, it doesn't matter even human being, saukhya hetoho, whether it is a mosquito or a donkey or a monkey, trijagati yatate. In all the three worlds, they want to be happy. Trijagati yatate naiva dukkhasya hetoho. Nobody wants to make any effort to become unhappy, right? Now he says the secret of happiness and unhappiness, particularly he is addressing the human beings. Naiva dukkhasya hetoho. He says there are only two factors which are responsible for you to be unhappy. Dehe hanta taduttha svavishaya mamata cheti dukkhaspade dve. Dehe ahanta. So, considering this physical body, so if I am dark, I want to become fair. If I am fair, I want to become dark. I mean, there are some people who just go and lie down on the beach in order to get a different kind of complexion, right? Why it is given to you? Why do you have this ahanta in this deha? This body is not you. I mean, this is a beautiful philosophy. If this body were you, then how can you be 3.5 kgs and become 35 and become 135 and then finally get back to 72 as somebody was saying today? This body is something which is continuously changing. Drop this notion of I am the witness of this body. Dehe hanta taduttha. And other things, the other possession that you have is all something which is connected with this. Mamata, this belongs to me, comes once again. If these two are dropped, Dehe hanta taduttha svavishaya mamata cheti dukkhaspade dve janan rogabhighatadyanubhavati. He gives a beautiful simile by which you will be able to relate the profound philosophy. He says, Janan rogabhighatadyanubhavati. Roga is physical, abhighata is mental. Suppose somebody says you are a fool. So you can just think, he is talking about my own buddhi, I am different. Then you need not be bothered. Suppose somebody praises you are the best brilliant mind in the world, you need not be too elated, right? He is talking about buddhi, the faculty which is given to me. I did not choose, right? So whether it is physics or whether it is psychology, it is something which is given to you. So that if this kind of a notion is developed, then all complexes will be gone. This is all I want to say. Dehe hanta taduttha svavishaya mamata cheti dukkhaspade dve. Janan rogabhighata dyanubhavati yataha anitya dehatma buddhihi. So this anitya deha and buddhi, so if you have this notion, then you will be in trouble. The example that he gives is Bharya putrartha nashe vipadamatha parameti na arati nashe. He says, Bharya putra, you have this mamata, right? So this is something which has become very common today, I am telling you. So you will say that without her I cannot live. Then later, with her I cannot live, right? Now what happens? This was considered, the same deha was a friend for you and the life for you, and the same deha has become lifelong problem for you. Now the thing is, if that fellow dies, he will be very happy. Earlier, it was mamata which was the cause of dukkha. Now this mamata, if it is dropped, both ways you are happy, right? This happiness is something which has to do with, there is a beautiful philosophy he was asking, so I don't have time to explain that. If this concept is something which is well understood, then in all situations you will be able to live very happily. Ultimate goal is happiness, but if you understand that profound philosophy, there is nothing for you in this world. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve. It doesn't mean that you have to become a philosopher and sit in Himalayas. Thank you.
अविनाश जी, डॉक्टर अविनाश जी, आपको कुछ कहना है? Well, does he hear? How do we communicate to him?
अविनाश जी,
हाँ जी,
ये पूछ रहे हैं, आपको कुछ पूछना है क्या, कहना है क्या?
हाँ, मुझे कुछ कहना है। मैं काफ़ी आप दोनों की बात से सहमत हूँ। त्रिपाठी जी ने भी काफ़ी अच्छा पॉइंट किया है। तो हमारे जो पुराने शास्त्र हैं और जितने भी ग्रंथ हैं, उनमें काफ़ी, खासतौर पर जो आयुर्वेद के हैं, उनमें काफ़ी ज्ञान है। और IIT जोधपुर में हमने एक सेंटर फॉर आयुर्टेक बनाया है, जहाँ पर हम पुराने ग्रंथों के जो श्लोक हैं, उनके अंदर जो ज्ञान है उसको एक्सट्रैक्ट करके और मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ ब्लेंड करके नए सॉल्यूशंस हम निकाल रहे हैं। आज ज़रूरत इसी चीज़ की है कि हम पुरानी परंपरा के ऊपर गर्व करें, लेकिन उस पुरानी परंपरा को मॉडर्न टूल्स के साथ यूज़ करके ज्ञान को आगे बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत है, जिससे मानवता की सेवा करी जा सके। तो ये जो आयुर्टेक सेंटर है, उसमें हम आयुर्जीनोमिक्स पर भी काम करते हैं और काफ़ी सारे इसमें हम नए ट्रीटमेंट्स भी निकालने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। इसमें हम डेटा एनालिटिक्स, बायोटेक्नोलॉजी, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, ये सब टेक्निक्स भी आयुर्वेद के साथ हम ब्लेंड करके कर रहे हैं। तो मैं आप सभी को निमंत्रित करना चाहूँगा कि एक बार जो है कभी जोधपुर आने का मौका मिले तो ये आपके लिए एक नया अनुभव होगा। एक बस आखिरी सवाल मैं करना चाहूँगा, जो माननीय शिंदे जी अगर जवाब दे पाएँ उसका, कि अगर इस भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को अगर प्रमोट करना है तो आपको क्या लगता है कि इसमें भारतीय भाषाओं की कितनी उपयोगिता रहेगी? क्या हम भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को अंग्रेजी में सिखा सकते हैं या इसके लिए भारतीय भाषाओं पर और भारतीय भाषाओं में प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज को देने की ज़रूरत है? इस पर आप लोग अगर थोड़ा थोड़ा छोटा टिप्पणी कर दें तो मुझे बड़ी खुशी होगी।
हमारे भारतीय परंपरा में बहुत सारे शब्द हैं जो अंग्रेजी में ट्रांसलेटेबल नहीं है। अंग्रेजी में पाप के लिए शब्द है सिन, लेकिन पुण्य के लिए शब्द ही नहीं है। पुण्य करने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, क्यों? शब्द ही नहीं तो कौन करेगा वो? ऐसे बहुत सारे विचित्र समस्या आती है जब अंग्रेजी में आप सिखाते हो। बच्चों को हम सिखाते हैं बाबा ब्लैक शिप। ब्लैक शिप का मतलब जो समाज का खराब काम करता है उसको ब्लैक शिप कहते हैं। फिर जैक एंड जिल वेंट अप द हिल टू फेच ए पेल ऑफ वाटर। अरे पानी तो नीचे जाता है ना, ये तो साइंस के विरोध में तुम बता रहे हो कि जैक एंड जिल वेंट अप द हिल, तो जब नीचे पानी नहीं तो ऊपर से कैसे? तो ऐसे कई चीज़ें आप जो बताते हो। टू किल 2 birds इन ए स्टोन, ये बोलते नहीं, इट इज़ जस्ट ए प्रॉवर्ब। ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? वाई डू यू वांट टू टीच वायलेंस टू ए चाइल्ड? वही बात अगर हमें करना है तो एक शब्द प्रयोग है। अच्छा, तो हम कहते हैं कि एक आदमी है, उसको दुकान चलाना है, केला बेचना है, लेकिन वहाँ भगवान का एक मेला जा रहा है, वह भी देखना है, तो ये छोड़ के वहाँ कैसे जाएगा? तो केला एक बास्केट टोकरी में ले जाता है और वहाँ जाके बैठ जाता है। उसका धंधा भी चलता है, और जब भगवान वहाँ से आ रहे तो उसके लिए कहा है कि केला बेचो, मेला देखो। तो ये इसके माध्यम से आप यार टीचिंग समथिंग हायर। जब हम कहते हैं कि चंदा मामा दूर के, तो चंदा को आपने मामा बना दिया, इसके लिए आपका पर्यावरण में बहुत सारी चीज़ें बदल आ सकती है। तो ये भाषा का बहुत बड़ा उपयोग है, बहुत ज़रूरी है, हमें अपने भाषा में सिखाना है। इसके लिए यूनिवर्सिटी शुड गेट गियर देमसेल्फ कि क्या हम ये सारे ज्ञान परंपरा हम अंग्रेजी में अभी शुरू करें, लेकिन धीरे धीरे उसको हमारे मातृभाषा में ला सकते हैं। दुनिया में एक ही एक एक्सपेरिमेंट हुआ है, केवल भारत में हुआ है, वह है कि अनेक भाषाओं का भी एक देश हो सकता है। आप फ्रांस और जर्मनी का मिलाकर एक देश बना नहीं सकते हो, स्पेन और पोर्चुगल का एक देश नहीं बना सकते हो, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ इतने सारे भाषाएं थे, फिर भी हम एक देश कैसे हो गया 1947 में अचानक? तो उसके पीछे हमारी संस्कृति है। अगर वो नहीं होता तो मुझे बम्बई से दिल्ली आने के बीच में इतने सारे वीज़ा लेना पड़ता है, तो वो नहीं है। तो इसका बहुत बड़ी बात है कि ये हमारे देश को हमारी संस्कृति ने बचाया है, और आगे जब जाएंगे हमारी संस्कृति हमको आगे ले जाएगी। तो हाँ, हमारे बीच में डॉक्टर देशमुख जी भी है, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा।
धन्यवाद। You just said that many things should be brought into our mother tongue, which is the importance of mother tongue. I will like to suggest that there is one word in the mother tongue of all of us. We speak many different languages. There are Tamilians, Kannadigas, Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali people in this hall. There is one word in all of these languages which should go into English. You just mentioned it actually. It is dharma. There is no word for dharma in English. And people mix up dharma with religion, and we know the consequences that it has on the social fabric of our great country. My request to this platform, to this very august body, great intellectual giants have assembled here to take up the lead in writing to the Oxford Dictionary, Cambridge Dictionary, and Webster Dictionary, major dictionaries of the world. Some of these dictionaries have included some of the Indian words in those dictionaries. For example, guru, you can find the word guru in English dictionaries, but you still cannot find dharma. I want to appeal to the intellectual leadership here to write to these dictionaries and ask them to include the word dharma in English dictionary, give its meaning appropriately, categorically state that this is not religion, and define what it is. Scholars should advise these dictionaries about how the meaning should be given. This will do a great service to the country. There are two small points I will make in line with the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. One of the strengths of this parampara, as we have discovered in these, every talk in the last 2 days have touched upon mathematics at some or the other point. Even in music, even in rhythm, tala, laya, you find mathematics. And one reason why Bharat was such a great civilization, the temple architecture that you talked about, the geometry, is because of the strength in mathematics. Mathematics should be the most loved subject in Bharat. And if it is not, we have to take some steps to make sure that everybody loves mathematics, because that will provide great strengths in every field. Mathematics, the reach of mathematics, many people call it as the queen of sciences. So this is something which I would like to request the intellectual leadership to take up and advise the academia about how this can be done, so that mathematics is the most loved subject in all schools and colleges, regardless of which branch of science, humanities, social sciences, economics, whatever one is learning. Students must love mathematics. One small point I will like to comment on in the Bharatiya Parampara, something that we learn from the Samvad between Arjun and Krishna. Arjun, of course, had great respect for Krishna. And if Krishna had said that, okay, don't ask questions, your duty is to fight the war, go ahead and do it, Arjun, it's not that Arjun would not have obeyed. But 700 verses to make sure that Arjun understood dharma and why it is important for him to act the way he eventually did. That came from questions and answers. Whether you talk about Arjuna and Krishna or Nachiket or anything, or the Upanishads, we have had this parampara of question answer, and I am afraid, as a teacher who has been teaching several decades, we often have to encourage students to ask questions, and many students do not ask in a very natural way. In small classes, I have often carried a box of chocolates and said that, okay, whoever asks a question will get a chocolate.
I will give 1 mark.
Yes. So this is another very rich parampara in our education system, which needs to be revived, and perhaps people will not just advise, but come up with very strategic ways of making sure that this parampara is carried forward. Thank you very much.
I just want to buttress one point. When you all leave, at least this much you should know. So I will just say, you repeat. So he was talking about this dharma, and it has been brilliantly defined by Kannada, which he was mentioning just now. Kannada, in his work, which has to do essentially with sort of atomic theory, one can say, etc., etc. But the first sutra which Kannada has composed essentially defines dharma. Yatobhyudaya nishreyasa siddhihi sadharmaha. Repeat. I will just say half. Yatobhyudaya nishreyasa siddhihi sadharmaha. Yatobhyudaya nishreyasa siddhihi sadharmaha. Repeat. Yatobhyudaya siddhihi sadharmaha. This much you remember and go, I think you have carried the message. The point I want to say is dharma is not equal to religion, is what he was trying to say. And what does this say? Siddhihi means you obtain. So it is defined in a very abstract way. Yataha means from which. From which you get abhyudaya. Abhyudaya essentially means prosperity. Okay, prosperity. Okay, physical prosperity, mental prosperity, all that. So particularly, the other aspect he is talking about is nishreyasa. Nishreyasa basically means beyond which there is no well-being, which means the ultimate satisfaction where you are gotten rid of all the various problems that you have. That is what is called nishreyasa. Nishreyasa is also equivalently stated as moksha. Okay, we will not dwell into that, but he is saying dharma is something which will fetch you the prosperity, the material prosperity that you have, and dharma is something which will transcend you from all the sorrows. This is what dharma is. So this is not equal to religion. You can be a totally non-believer and still you can be a dharmika in a way. Okay, so that is what is being stated by him. So I just hand over this to you.
My thanks to all the panel speakers, and we have come to the end of an exciting day. मैं केवल बर्ट्रैंड रसल के बारे में बताता हूँ. He got 2 Nobel Prizes. Talking about the problems of the world, उन्होंने 3 बातें बताई और उसका प्रॉब्लम्स का सोल्यूशन भी उनका सोल्यूशन बताया. जरा आप सोचिए हमारा क्या सोल्यूशन हो सकता है भारतीय परंपरा में. पहले बताया कि जितने मनुष्य है उतने पैंट होना चाहिए, उतने शर्ट होना चाहिए, उतने घर होना चाहिए, नहीं है। तो आंसर सॉल्यूशन टू दैट इज प्रोड्यूस मोर. There should be enough number of material things so that everyone can purchase or everyone can enjoy that. Produce more ये सही है क्या? भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा में प्रोड्यूस, गो ऑन प्रोड्यूसिंग मोर एंड मोर एंड मोर, उसके क्या विपरीत परिणाम होंगे, कोई बताएगा? इसके लिए गांधी जी ने क्या कहा? मैं ये चाहता हूँ, मैं वो चाहता हूँ, मैं वो चाहता हूँ. ओके, प्रोड्यूस एवरीथिंग दैट यू वांट. इसके लिए क्या सॉल्यूशन है, बताइए, कोई भी बताइए.
Enough for the human need, but not enough for the human greed.
फैंटास्टिक. तो जोर से जय हिंद बोलिए. देर इज इनफ फॉर मैंस नीड बट नॉट फॉर हिज ग्रीड. ग्रीड तो बढ़ते जाएगा, बढ़ते जाएगा. तो सोल्यूशन इज नॉट गो ऑन प्रोड्यूसिंग, क्योंकि प्रोड्यूसिंग ज़्यादा करेंगे तो आपका कार्बन फुटेज बढ़ते जाएगा, उसके कारण आने वाले पीढ़ी को भुगतना पड़ेगा, तो वो खराब है. दूसरा प्रॉब्लम उसने बताया कि देयर इज एक्सप्लॉइटेशन. एक्सप्लॉइटेशन टेक्स प्लेस बिकॉज समबडी इज वीक. यू आर वीक, देयरफॉर यू आर बीइंग एक्सप्लॉइटेड. तो उसका सोल्यूशन है डोंट बी वीक, बिकम स्ट्रांग. डू यू एग्री विथ दिस इज ए सोल्यूशन? आपको लगता है क्या? डोंट बी वीक, यू बिकम स्ट्रांग. तो व्हाट इज दैट? इज लॉजिकली करेक्ट है क्या? गलत है? वेयर इज द मिस्टेक? Suppose they become strong. Suppose I become strong, you become weak. Will it end exploitation? It will be reverse exploitation. Exploitation को फिर इसका solution क्या है? तो हमारे यहाँ कर्म सिद्धांत रखा है. अगर मैं बहुत ताकतवान हूँ और एक चींटी को मारता हूँ, तो हमारे घर में क्या बताते? चींटी को मारेंगे तो अगले जन्म में तुम चींटी बनोगे. जो भी आप करोगे उसको भुगतना पड़ेगा. ये सिद्धांत ही आपको सही मार्ग पे रखेगा, वरना यू विल बिकम अनदर राक्षसा. तो ये है हमारा सॉल्यूशन. तीसरा उन्होंने बताया कि मैन इज सेल्फिश, सो टीच हिम नॉट टू बी सेल्फिश. अब कितने बार भी तुम बोलोगे डोंट बी सेल्फिश, डोंट बी सेल्फिश, से आपका बहुत बड़ा सॉल्यूशन नहीं निकलता है. तो क्या बताना चाहिए? जो मैंने थोड़ी देर बताया कि सेल्फ अवेयरनेस बताना चाहिए. वो क्या होता है कि देर इज ए डिविनिटी इन मी एंड देर इज ए डिविनिटी इन यू. द डिविनिटी विद इन मी सैल्यूट्स द डिविनिटी विद इन यू. ये जब ज्ञान आएगा तो फिर हम सेल्फिशनेस से बाहर आ सकते हैं. तो वर्ल्ड के प्रॉब्लम्स है, दुनिया उसके अपने ढंग से सोचती है, लेकिन दुनिया का उद्धार करने के सॉल्यूशंस भारतीय परंपरा में है. और वी आर द वैन गॉड्स ऑफ भारतीय परंपरा. I appreciate each one of you, congratulate each one of you for having spared the time and sat through yesterday and today, both days. धन्यवाद.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
हम लोग उधर जाके बैठ गए. हो गया?
हाँ. भाई माइक. Thank you to all the panel members. Thank you, Professor Agrawal, for joining us. It was indeed a very... Thank you to all the panel members. I now request Professor Deshmukh to please share with us the concluding remarks for the panel discussion.
I don't think there is anything I want to add. It has been a very insightful discussion, and Raviji has already summed it up to a large extent. So I just want to share my happiness, satisfaction, learning so much all through these 2 days. And I think what the panel discussion has also brought together almost all the learnings of both the days. There were several talks and everything came together, so I really don't think I want to add any much, but thank everybody for the wonderful time that we have had in these 2 days. Udayji, would you like to add anything?
So just wait, we'll felicitate you as well.
Huh?
So please wait for a second, we'll felicitate you as well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know, sir. Thank you, sir. I now request our Honorable Vice Chairman, sir, Mr. Vineet Vats, to please felicitate the Symposium Chair, Professor Deshmukh. I request Vineet sir, Supriya ma'am, and Dipali ma'am to join us on stage. I request I guess. Acha.
This is just the love and affection of the institute, nothing else. And I have absolutely no right to accept this, but I will accept it only on behalf of everybody who has contributed to this symposium. There are many, the conveners, the committee, many faculty members, large number of students, the staff of the Vivekananda Institute. I think this institution has brought together wonderful people who have organized this symposium. And since it is not easy to felicitate everybody, any one of them can be picked to do the honors. I will accept it on behalf of all of them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I now request Vice Chairman, sir, Mr. Vineet Vats, Saloni ma'am, convener of Bharatiya Knowledge System, and Bharati ma'am, co-convener for Bharatiya Knowledge System, to please felicitate Uday sir, the Symposium Chair Advisor, Chief Advisor.
Okay.
Achha, you would also.
You know, 2 years back I came on the invitation of the chairman to teach entrepreneurship and innovation. I never had the wildest dream that we will do this, which is, I think, one of the questions that Professor Avinash Agarwal, or I think one of the panelists asked, what is the role of a technical institute in Bharatiya Knowledge System? I think possibly me as a, whatever is the possibly the best example, we have brought in 20 different great scholars from all over the world. Sir has come from America and Bombay. We had Jodhpur and so many cities. I think this is a fantastic, I would say, some kind of a divine force which has come together to make this. And also, as I echo what one of my newest mentor, Dr. Deshmukh, said that, I'm just accepting this as a, sort of a gratitude from the institution I'm so much in love with now. And also a correction, I'm saying again, I'm not a chief advisor of any symposium or whatever. I'm a chief learner and I'll continue to be that, and in the say of Bharat. That's all, and thank you.
I request all the esteemed speakers to please step forward for a group photograph. I request all the deans as well as the core faculty members for the event to please step forward for a group photograph.
सब लोग आ जाएंगे अगर हम लोग यहाँ खड़े रहेंगे यहाँ से फोटो
I request all the faculty members to also step forward for a group photograph. All the faculty members of VSCT and VSIT, please step forward for a group photograph.